We are Canberra Multicultural Service FM 91.1, where every culture finds its voice. Canberra's only full-time multicultural radio station. You can listen to us online at cmsradio.org.au or tune into 91.1 on FM in your car, at home, anywhere. To broadcast or volunteer with us, give us a call at 6287-7058.
Hello, Canberra. It's 5 p.m, so that means it's Kim and HP here, and you're listening to 1CMS 91.1 FM. Hello, HP. How are you?
Hello, Kim. After probably a month? Probably more than a month.
It's been a while.
Yes. How are you? How's things?
I'm good. I mean, it's cold in Canberra. I feel like that's popped out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Other than that,
well, I expected that on June. So
I expected that in March. Yeah, so this is like delayed, and now I'm surprised. But anyway,
but I'm happy to see you. All right, you never say that you're happy to see me in the studio, but I am happy to see you after so long. I went on my holidays.
Yeah,
and you were back.
Okay, I'm happy to see you, HP.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell us about your holidays quickly?
Well, no, I don't want to say anything.
But was it good on a scale from 1 to 10?
I want to be private. I don't want to say anything.
Okay.
But it was great. It was fantastic. I didn't want to come back. That was how it was.
And how long were you going for?
For a month, more than a month.
And set the tone. Like, did you go away? What did you do? You don't have to tell us in detail, but we need to kind of know.
Well, I went away. I went to many places, and I went away.
Okay.
For some business as well. So,
Okay.
And that was that. I mean, what about you? You disappeared for a week.
Yeah.
Right? No phone calls. Nothing.
Mm-hmm. I messaged you, HP. I did.
You do this a lot, right? You do this a lot. You completely disappear off the radar, and I'm like, where the hell is she? Like, I mean, I thought, okay,
look,
probably
the important thing is I always come back.
Yeah.
So,
but
there.
Disappearing is not good, especially with your co-host.
Sometimes you need it. Sometimes you need to have a mental health break.
Yeah. Oh, for me.
Well, look, I didn't want to frame it that way. That came out of your mouth, but anyway, what's happening in Canberra?
Well, I don't know much except that London Circuit traffic that we have, that's causing a lot of issue at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a 3.6% hike on the wages. That's what's happening in Australia, not only in Canberra. So that's what's happening as a whole, and it's affecting me as a business person. So yes, that's what's happening.
I mean, look, that's for the greater good, though, not the traffic thing, but the wage increase.
Yeah, you as an employee would say that. Me as a business owner would say, yes, it's great for a greater good.
Well, wait a second. Doesn't that mean that people then have more to spend on going out and doing things?
But where is that money going to come from? Unless we hike up the price, and as soon as we hike up the price of anything, then the people will stop coming in. So where's the money going to come from? It was done without any consultation with any business people, So, well, it's good. It's very good, but I don't know.
Sounds like you need another break. Okay.
Anyhow, we have a guest today.
Yes.
As usual, we have His Excellency Dr. Elias Munshaya. He's the High Commissioner for Zambia to Australia. Very handsome guy as well, So we have
him in the studio. Thank you so much for joining us, Your Excellency. Perhaps can we start off with a bit of intro from yourself?
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me, HP and Kim. This is the second time that I am on your station here. And this station has gone a long way in promoting multiculturalism here in Canberra and in Australia. And so I would like to say thank you for having me. My name is Elias Munsha. I'm High Commissioner for Zambia, and I'm part of the African Diplomatic Corps here in Canberra. And it's a group of about 16 countries, 16 diplomatic missions here. And the Dean should have been here, and the Dean is His Excellency Ambassador Joe Mishi, Ambassador of Zimbabwe, but he couldn't make it, and so he asked me to come over and represent him. And so it's 16 countries, and we are here in Canberra, and we represent our various countries from Africa, and we represent them here in Australia. And so that is part of the work we do. A little bit about myself. Of course, I come from Zambia, and I came to Australia in 2022. And so it's been almost 3 years already. So what an exciting journey it is. But before we even perhaps go further, I would like to acknowledge that this is quite a challenging time for us in Zambia, and also for us as a diplomatic mission here in Canberra. We are right now during a period, or experiencing a period of mourning in Zambia. The former president of the Republic of Zambia, Edgar Chagwa Lungu, passed on a few days ago, and so we've got a 7-day days of national mourning in Zambia. And so indeed, on behalf of my diplomatic missions, we are extending our sad condolences to the family of the former president. And the books of condolences are open at our office, and they are going to be open at least until Monday, so that those that wish to come and pay their last respects could do so at the Zambian High Commission in Canberra. The other issue that we are facing at the moment was the fact that one of our own members of our diplomatic community, Ms. Mwemba Hamaleka, passed away right here in Canberra, and on Monday we are repatriating her remains back to Zambia so that she can receive burial in Zambia. And so we did have a very good time with Ms. Hamaleka, and may her soul rest in peace.
All right, thank you. And just continuing with the condolences, we would like to, express our heartfelt condolences for the departed, and heartfelt condolences for the people that did not survive the air crash in India. We'd like to also express our deepest condolences. I just mumbled there because I just thought of them and I couldn't so so anyhow, getting forward with the show.
Thank you.
Tell us something about everyone. Lots of people do not know exactly what do you need to do to become an ambassador to a country, and especially in an African country like Zambia. So what do you need to do? What's the career path? How do you become an ambassador?
Yes, and we get those questions a lot. So, and what applies to African countries also applies to countries across the board. So there are typically two career paths of how you actually become an ambassador. The first one is known as three paths. The first one is a career diplomat. So a career diplomat is somebody who enters their respective country's foreign service, and then they rise through the ranks up to the time that they become ambassador. Of course, that will take many, many years of experience, and those are career diplomats, and they are very, very valuable to their respective countries' diplomatic corps. And so typically all the countries around the world, that's one of the ways. The second one is a career civil servant. A career civil servant is somebody who is still a civil servant, but they have risen through the ranks in a different ministry and not necessarily foreign affairs. So they're not career diplomats, but they're career civil servants. So through that, you can rise through the ranks and become an ambassador. The third one is through what are known as political ambassadors. So these are experienced men and women that a government chooses to be a representative of their country, and they do not necessarily have to have the diplomatic background, but they get appointed specifically because their country needs their services. Sometimes these are politicians, sometimes they are from the private sector, and sometimes they are supporters of a particular ruling party. And so this goes across the world, be it in the States, in Australia, in Zambia, and several other countries. So those are the major paths for a person to become an ambassador. But an ambassador is just one of the many diplomats that a country has. And so we need to recognize that it's not just about ambassadors, but it is also about councillors, about minister councillors, about first secretaries, second secretaries, and various other diplomats that staff diplomatic missions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you for that background. It's very interesting. I just want to go back to your initial intro where you mentioned you work alongside 16 countries. Are you able to sort of talk us through which countries?
Yes, indeed. So the African missions that are represented here in Canberra, there are 16 of us, and I'm going to mention some of them. So, of course, Zambia is the country I represent. Now, Zambia is right at the center of Southern Africa. And on my business cards, what I try to do is I draw a map of Africa, and then so that it can give context as to where Zambia is.
You can show it in the camera as well.
Yeah, look at that. So,
yeah.
So that's if it's visible.
Yeah.
That's what I try to do, to make it very easy for our people to be able to, at least at the very least, picture where Zambia is. And so we are from Southern Africa, from the SADC region. And so there are several other African countries that are here. And so there is South Africa, then there is Botswana, then there is Zimbabwe, then there is Angola. Angola is the latest addition to our group here. They opened their diplomatic mission just in November last year. And then there is, from the north, there is Morocco, there is Algeria. In the west, there is Ghana, there is Nigeria, and Ethiopia, Kenya, Uganda, Libya, and I'm not too sure whether somebody is keeping track here, but I may have hit 16, and Sudan. I hope that's 16.
Yeah, I think it's 16. Yeah. I was just trying to keep it going. But that's great. Now, when we talk about the diversity in Africa, right? There's a huge diversity there, and when you think of a united front when it comes to the world, how does it work? I mean, has it succeeded, or have we seen any success in that? As a global player.
Yes, thank you very much, HP. Now, just a few weeks ago, actually, we were celebrating the Africa Day, which is an anniversary of when the Organization of African Unity was formed. And so this is the 63rd birthday, I believe, of the Organization of African Unity. And so this is an organization which now is known as the African Union, and it is based out of Addis Ababa in Ethiopia. And it exists so that it can bring African countries together in a unity of purpose, together in shared values, and together from the geographical perspective, the fact that we are all African. But we are also a very diverse continent. We have the north, we have the east, we have the west, we have the southern, we have the center. So it's a very, very diverse continent. But what the African Union is trying to do is to see how we can work together. Because there are so many advantages that Africa has at the moment. Very young population.
So there's a majority of population that's under 25 years age.
25 years old, yes. And so there are a lot of advantages. We are a population that is crossing 1 billion at the moment, and in a short while here we could hit as many as 1.5 billion. But regarding all these advantages that we have are meaningless if there is no unity among us.
Yes.
And now it is not just about political unity, like forming a united nation or united Africa, but rather a unity in the sense that we bring down barriers of trade so that we can increase intra-Africa trade and our various countries can trade with each other.
Yeah.
Those are some of the goals that the African Union is prioritizing. And so we have the Africa Free Trade Area, the Intercontinental Free Trade Area that was established a couple of years ago, and most African countries have signed on to it, and we are looking to see that becomes a bloc that can make it very easy for Africa to trade within itself. In addition to that, various regions have got their own free trade areas. Zambia right now is part of the common market for Eastern and Southern Africa. And so it is a huge market that stretches from Southern Africa to East Africa and then includes countries such as Egypt in its membership. And what we are trying to tell the world is that Africa is ready for trade, but also Africa is ready to trade within itself. It's ready to expand to various other parts of the world as well.
And what does that look like with Australia? So is there an appetite to trade with Australia? And if so, what sort of commodities would you be trading?
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Kim, for that. Australia is a very important partner with Africa. Huge continent it is. And not only that, but it is also a very resource-rich continent. Nearly all the minerals that you could think of are found in Australia. And now, with the focus on critical rare earth minerals, Australia provides that. And sometimes there is a tendency to think that Australia competes with Africa in the area of resources. But that is where we need to go beyond, to realize that even if Africa is a resource-rich continent, and so is Australia, there are various areas of collaboration that we can foster together. And that's why the African Diplomatic Group looks at those opportunities and is trying to look at those opportunities. How, for example, can we deal with our natural resources in a way that is very responsive and respectful of the environment. We look at Australia's growth in terms of its technologies, mining technologies, environmental protection technologies, and we want to collaborate as Africa with Australia in that way. Africa, you mentioned any mineral, we have it. We are very rich in resources, and we are looking at collaborating further with Australia to see that we do increase in terms of value addition to the minerals that we have, and do mining in a responsible manner, commitment to agriculture in a way that honors this beautiful earth that God has given us, and do tourism in a way that is respectful of the environment. And indeed, Africa has a lot of tourism, a lot of great places to visit, starting from the pyramids in Egypt to the Victoria Falls in Zambia and Zimbabwe. Lots of opportunities.
But the question is, how is it that you, as a diplomatic corps, trying to deepen the relationship between Africa and Australia? Of course, there are a few similarities, as you can see, with Africa and Australia, with the rare mineral earth and all those kind of rare things that we get underneath the earth, right? So,
what are some sort of key initiatives that you are sort of, trying to raise awareness between countries?
Yes.
Is there anything?
So the first one is to recognize the people-to-people relations that have taken place between Australians and Africans for the past decades, for the past centuries, if any. And so we want to recognize that interaction. So it's people to people. Australians and Africans, Australians and Zambians, Australians and Kenyans. Sometimes it's the missionaries who came from Australia, believe me, into some of the African countries and established their mission stations in Africa. At other times, it's Australian companies that went into Africa and collaborated. And sometimes it's the Africans who came and immigrated over into Australia to begin a new life, and they formed a very vibrant part of the African diaspora here. So as diplomats, we want to encourage that people-to-people connection. We want to see that people-to-people, Africans and Australians are flourishing together, whether they are doing it in Africa or they are doing it here in Australia. That's number one. The second one is economic partnerships. And like I mentioned, and this is coming from the first point of people-to-people connections, Australian firms are already doing business in Africa. And so we want to encourage and ensure that they do so in a very helpful manner, in a way that serves both their interests as investors and also the people where they are investing in Africa. So we are encouraging that kind of investment. The other one is trade. The idea that we need to open up each other's markets so that we can buy and sell with each other. And all these efforts, if not being led at continental level, they're also being led by individual African countries. Our country, in this case, believe that the Zambian diaspora here in Australia is a good market for Zambian products. And that's why we have companies in Perth, the Riza store known as Mapalo store, that stocks Zambian products. And we see the increase in that cycle, in that ecosystem, to be very important to increasing trade relations. The other one then is political friendship. This idea that we as nations are actually friends, we are brothers and sisters of each other, and we should have representation in each other's capitals as a way to show the oneness of the human family. And so we are here in Australia, we are here in this capital as symbolic representatives of our countries. The other one is economic diplomacy now, that is overarching in the sense that it then cuts across all areas to realize that diplomacy is not just about the fact that we are here present in this capital, but rather that we are looking at economic opportunities that serve Australia and that serve Africa as well. That's why we are reaching out to chambers of commerce around Australia and telling the story about Zambia and telling the story about Africa. We are reaching out to businesses, telling them about Africa, telling them about Zambia, and so these are some of the efforts that we are doing.
So when you come to the economical diplomacy, right? We are seeing a shift from Africa to China and India at this stage, and Vietnam, and for that matter. Now, what is the diplomatic corps doing, or is diplomatic corps focused on having that focus come back to Africa and being equitable and not extractable? You know what I mean? Like it has to be equal and not, and which is a case again when it comes to Africa.
Yes, thank you, HP. Regarding other regions or other countries, we believe that as Africa, we must be able to trade with the East and the West. We must be able to trade with all countries around the world, because that's exactly what all nations do, be it the oil from the Gulf states, be it the manufacturing in China, the fact that China is able to trade with the rest of the world. And so we as Africa believe that is the same message that we need to send across the world. The fact that we are ready, we are open, we have matured as an economic system, and we are able to buy and sell from around the world. That is what we are focused on. And as representatives of our various governments here, we are sending a message to the Australian public for them to know that Africa is a partner, is a neighbor, is their friend, and we are able to do our trade together. The regions around the world are not a threat. They are an opportunity for us to work together. In terms of exploitation, we realize that in order for us as Africans to get the maximum from our resources, we must add value to our resources. And that's why we are focusing on ensuring that we build factories, we build industries that are able to transform our raw materials into finished products. Because the value of copper in its raw form is very different from the value of the copper wire that is then sold to an existing market. And that's why we are trying to partner with others so that we can add value to the resources that we have. That's why Zambia is joining with the Democratic Republic of Congo, our neighbor to the north, in order for us to build a factory, an industry in Zambia that is able to manufacture electric batteries and other batteries that are going to be very transformative to our green future. We are doing that because Zambia and Congo account for about 80% of world's cobalt output. And if we are able to produce so much cobalt out of the Zambian and Congolese soil, why then can't we establish a plant within our neighborhood so that we are able to produce batteries for the world? That's what we are trying to do.
So to bring that down to a granular level, just so that, someone who's not in, foreign affairs, just your average local sort of citizen,
right.
What sort of things are in place if people sort of hear this and they want to know more? You mentioned earlier Africa Day. Was there anything happening in the capital or in other capital cities where people could go and participate and learn more about some of the initiatives that are happening?
Yes, indeed. First of all, there are some government-led initiatives. Like we as embassies, we are pretty much government, and we represent our various governments. And the Africa Day celebration we had here in Canberra was mostly targeted at our friends within the diplomatic family and DFAT and several government leaders. But beyond that, what we have found is that there is a vibrant African community, and these communities, they do have Africa Day celebrations across Australia. And we as African diplomats here in Canberra, we distributed ourselves around Australia and represented and attended those functions. I'm very excited, Kim, to report that I attended one in Melbourne just last week, and it was an amazing dinner, gala dinner that was held, and the Honourable Premier of Victoria was there, and she gave a marvelous speech to the attendees. It was about 600 participants who came for that dinner, and it was a way to tell the African story. But what is remarkable about that event is the fact that it is brought together by the African diaspora. And that's why this African story that we are encouraging to be told here in Australia is going to be told by governments, but it is also going to be told by the African diaspora itself. And that's why we encourage African diaspora associations to work together, to love their adopted country, which is Australia, but also to continue looking with great hope to their countries of origin. And the event that I attended in Melbourne, the Africa Day event, that is brought together by Africa Day Association, Inc., was marvelous. Similar meetings were held in Brisbane, in Perth, in Sydney. I attended another one in Sydney. And so, even here in Canberra itself, apart from the diplomatic one, there was another one which was put together by the Africa Australia Inc. And we attended that one as well.
So, with your African Union, the diaspora, right? As I asked before as well, are there structural difficulties when it comes to a union, African Union, in the people working together in the community? I mean, because it's different languages, different communities, and different stories, right? So what are the challenges there? Like, how do you see it as an ambassador or as a citizen of Africa? How do you see that challenge for the community of Africa?
So for Africans here in Australia, we are encouraging them to unite because their continent, Africa, is trying to work together. And so they need to model here in Australia, or rather, let me put it this way. Africans in Africa, countries, peoples are modeling a certain kind of unity. And that is the same unity that we want to see displayed by Africans here in Australia, their ability to work together. We know that we are a very diverse continent, and that is a strength rather than a weakness. We are blessed with thousands of languages and thousands of ethnic groups. But that is what makes us Africa. We need to go beyond sometimes some of those divisions in order for us to work together. That's why some of the numbers are putting Africans to be 500,000 here in Australia, which is quite a significant both voting bloc and economic bloc right here.
Did you say 500,000?
500,000. 500,000.
500,000.
And so, and some numbers are between 500,000 to 1 million, but we are not going to those specifics. But it is a sizable economic bloc. It is also a sizable cultural group as Africans. And so we are encouraging them to work together. We know that in order for this unity to work, we need to recognize the diversity. And that's why if you have an association for Kenyans, an association for Zambians, an association for South Africans, or even within countries, for example, you have a Yoruba association or an association for Igbos, or an association for Ghanaians, Northern Ghanaians, Southern Ghanaians, or Eastern Ghanaians, no matter what association it is, be able to serve that community, but be able to reach out to the other overarching communities so that we can do something great and big for ourselves. And also in relating with your host countries here, I believe that in working together, you are able to confront some of the challenges that might come your own way and be able to become greater and meaningful participants in Australia.
Your Excellency, earlier your face lit up when you spoke about the falls in Zambia, and I was just hoping perhaps you could paint a picture for our listeners who probably never been to Africa. What are some of the key standout locations or destinations?
So let me speak for Zambia. So Zambia is right at the center of Southern Africa. We are surrounded by 8 beautiful neighbors, and we are home to the Victoria Falls. Now, the Victoria Falls is named after Queen Victoria, of course, and the same queen who gave the name to the state of Victoria. The Victoria Falls is one of the 7 wonders of the world. It's an amazing natural falls to see. And so I would encourage Australians to make the trip and come over to Zambia and visit the Victoria Falls. One of the best things about the Victoria Falls is that it is a shared resource. Perhaps to speak to the kind of unity that we want to see, Mother Nature gifted us that falls, and for some reason we share it with our neighbor Zimbabweans. And so come over to the Victoria Falls, come and visit Zambia, come and visit Zimbabwe. More than just the Victoria Falls, Zambia is home to various other falls. In Luapula province, for example, there is almost half a dozen falls that you can have a look. And in Zambia, lots of traditional ceremonies where you can come and reenact the ancient rites of our people. You can come to the Kuomboka ceremony, you can come to Intkwala ceremony, you can come to Jabukaraushi, you can come to Mtomboko ceremony to see traditional groupings celebrating their diversity. Zambia is also home to great game. We are home to the Big 5. And so you come there, you have a look at the lion in its natural habitation. Wow. Not in a zoo. Lions, wow. Elephants, leopards, and much more.
So you get to do a safari, is it?
You can do a safari in Zambia, and because we share some of these resources with our neighbors, you'll be able to see elephants in Zambia, see elephants in Botswana, see elephants in Angola, see elephants in Namibia and in Zimbabwe. And so that is what Africa has got to offer. But it's not just about Zambia and Zimbabwe. In the north, of course, the famous pyramids in Egypt. In the west, great destinations such as Ghana and Nigeria. There is just so much to see in Africa, and I would invite all of you to go on, book your destination, come over and see the Victoria Falls, come over and see Zambia.
Now, as an Australian, I would have a question, right? I want to go to Africa. I want to go to Zambia. How safe is it? I mean, is it safe for me as an Australian to visit Zambia or any other African nation?
It's very safe. Africa is home to 54 countries, 54 nations. And an average Australian that I run across, sometimes they ask me, Zambia, where is that? And I tell them that the very fact that you perhaps have never heard about Zambia is a testament to its peace. Because sometimes you only get to hear of a few troubled spots here and there in Africa, and they shouldn't become the definition of the entire continent. It's 54 countries, very, very safe. And you can come to Zambia. Of course, you just have to watch out and look out for petty thieves here and there. Other than that, there is so much peace in Zambia. We've had 7 different presidents, 4 different political parties, peaceful transitions of power. We've never had a civil war, and we are a diverse country of about 73 ethnic groups that live together, and we emphasize our diversity and our unity in that diversity. The motto for Zambia is One Zambia, One Nation, and so there is no reason why any Australian should live their lives without ever visiting Zambia. Come on.
You convinced me.
Yeah,
I want to go.
Next holiday, I'm going to go to Zambia. Right?
You're welcome.
I hope I will get your recommendation as well with me. Do we have to apply for a visa as an Australian?
So Zambia, if you hold an Australian passport or a New Zealand passport, you are welcome into Zambia. We give you 30 days upon entry. And if you want more, just talk to us. We can give you.
So let's say if someone from Australia wants to do a business in Zambia, right? So there's so many Australian companies investing in Zambia at the moment as well. What sort of setting do you have for those kind of investors who want to really go to Zambia and take that, advantage of, having trade relationship with Zambia?
Oh, that's very encouraging in the sense that as Zambia right now, under the administration of President Hakainde Hichilema and the new Dawn administration, we've been in office so far about 4 years, 3 years and 11 months. What we are trying to do is to market Zambia as not only good for visits and tourism, but also good for business. And so if you want to set up a business in Zambia, you can come and talk to us at the Zambia High Commission, and we can refer you to the Zambia Development Agency, which is an agency that is going to look after you and the kind of investments that you want to do. There are several areas of investment in Zambia. Now, Zambia as a developing country, it means there is infrastructure deficit. And in order for us to meet that infrastructure benchmark that we have, we are looking at private-public partnerships. This is where investors come, they look at a project, a road, a bridge, a building, or any piece of infrastructure, they put their money down, and then we have, whether it's the build and transfer agreement or operation agreement, you are able to get your money out, leave the infrastructure there after some years, and you are contributing to the development of our country, to the employment prospects of our youth and our young people, and you are also, at the same time, are able to make some money for yourself. So we are open and we are encouraging investments, not only in infrastructure. I've already mentioned tourism. So all these falls, for example, Mombotuta Falls in Milenge district in Wapula province, it's a very beautiful set of falls and rapids. And very ideal for camping. I know that Australians enjoy camping a lot. I'm not too sure, Kim, you've got to correct me there. But if you were to come to Mangatuta, you can come and camp on that campsite very far away from the noises of this world and be able to set camp there. And so we're looking at investors in terms of facilities there, create a campsite. Not only that, we have Bangweulu as well, which is a lake, one of the biggest lakes on the continent, and you are able to invest in a lodge or in tourism facilities there. The other one is agriculture. Zambia is home to 20 million people, and so there is already a market for agricultural products. But beyond the market, the 20 million of us, there is in the neighborhood of 8 countries that can very easily take our immediate neighborhood to about 300 million to 400 million people. If you added COMESA, almost 500 million people market. And so you can grow goods, you can grow food, you can grow cash crops in Zambia, and you are able to export. And so when it comes to energy deficit, I know that Australia also faces this challenge sometimes, and that's why the issue of energy, electricity, and power has been on the agenda for the ruling and the opposition here in Australia. But the same is applicable in Zambia. But what we have done is we have made it very easy for investors to come and help us with the power deficit. Right now, the major source of power is 80% renewable, hydroelectric power, but hydroelectric power means then that we are much more susceptible to the impacts of climate change. If we experience a drought like we have experienced for the past 2 years, it becomes very difficult to generate power, hydropower. But so we are looking at investment in other renewable energy infrastructure, such as solar system and wind and all those investments. So in terms of investment, Zambia is open. The services are also very much open. Right now, we are becoming a center of education from the Southern African region, and many Southern Africans are coming over into Lusaka to attend university there, mostly the private universities. And so there are opportunities for investment and partnerships with those universities that are already growing in Lusaka and beyond. When it comes to financial services, we have tightened the rules over money laundering, ensuring that we are able to attract investment into our country and be able to attract investors in the financial sector. The financial sector is very vibrant in Zambia, and the fact that we are right at the center of Southern Africa, within an hour or two of flights with other capitals. So within 30 minutes, you are in Harare. Within an hour, you are in Lilongwe, Malawi. Within 2 hours, you are in Johannesburg and Pretoria, South Africa. Another 2 hours in Windhoek. Another 3 hours in Rwanda, Angola. Perhaps another 3 hours in Maputo. And so we are right at the center of Southern Africa, and we are very attractive for investment.
Well, as you just brought up the climate aspect of Africa, Africa has been least responsible for climate change in the world, but has been the most vulnerable about it, right? How has your voice been heard out there in the climate diplomacy? Has it been heard, or is there more to be done?
This is a subject that is very important, and there is always more to be done in terms of climate. And our president has addressed various fora at international level to talk about the impacts of climate change and how that the effects of climate change unfairly target the poor in the world. So the poorer countries or developing countries contribute far much less pollution and yet they bear the biggest brunt of the effects of climate change in terms of economic opportunities. And so we are aware of the various instruments that have been brought together by governments and civil society in order to make that a little bit equal. And that's why we, in our government at the moment, we have the Ministry of Green Economy. The Ministry of Green Economy is there as a deliberate message that we have sent to our people and sent a message to the rest of the world that Zambia is willing to have conversations regarding climate change. Not only conversations, but to actually take action. We believe that we need to reduce emissions. We believe that we need to, whatever we are doing, whether it's farming, whether it's agriculture, whether it's raising livestock or mining, that we can do all these activities without increasing pollution in our world.
In Africa,
in Africa and in the world as well.
Yeah.
And we are calling upon the developed countries to reciprocate that.
But how much has it heard? That's the question. Has it been heard from the African Union,
We continue having those conversations, and Africa is having those conversations at all the fora around the world, and we continue having those conversations. That's why for me to come here and have a conversation with you, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
We are trying to get a message across. Climate change is real. And we believe that Africa and Zambia in particular have a positive role to play. But more than that, richer countries need to come on board as well, reduce their emissions, and also to come in and put money on the table in order to stop further pollution in developing countries.
Exactly.
I think, those are all very important points. And as I'm sure you can agree, sometimes the key lies in the younger generation to push that message. So I just want to go back to education. Are there any scholarships or cross-institution programs between Australia and maybe Zambia, or even, within the other countries that students can access?
Yes, so Zambia and Australia have collaborated. One of the things that we are trying to encourage at the moment is, first of all, university-to-university collaboration. That's why there is the Australia Africa Universities Network at the moment that brings together Australian universities and African universities into a common framework. And they have yearly conferences. And even Curtin University has started a Department of African Studies. And so we are seeing a lot of interest in that way, university to university or university to government collaboration. We recognize that and we appreciate that. The other one is the recognition of graduates from Australian universities. These are Africans who came here, studied, and they've gone back to Africa. They've gone back to Zambia, and they have replicated what they learned here into Zambia and into Africa. And we recognize that, and we are very appreciative of that. In terms of scholarships, there are Australia Africa awards, that scholarships that are master's and doctorate level studies. Right now, we have about 3 Zambian students, 2 Zambian students that were accepted in the last intake. For that, we are very appreciative. Not only that, now we are encouraging the Australian government to do a little bit more. Australia is a middle power, and we expect and we encourage the Australian government to raise its collaboration and partnership with Africa and African countries. But we are on the right trajectory. We are grateful for the partnership that we have so far, and we are looking forward to more collaboration in terms of education. In terms of technical collaboration, right now Australia is receiving several artisans, diesel fitters, mechanics from Zambia to come and work here. And so the world is becoming very dynamic. We're becoming a global village, and Zambia is now becoming a net exporter of tradies into Australia. We see that as a very important opportunity for growth. Expertise can come over here in Australia, be able to help build the Australian economy, and then transfer the skills that at the end are able to be applicable to Zambia as well.
So when we were talking about education, right, we came as an international students as well, and we had some African friends at the university, and we understand that the education there is not directly replicated or recognized here. Let's say if there was a registered nurse in Zambia or in Kenya for that matter, and that Australia is actually in deficit of registered nurses, it's not been replicated exactly as it is in Kenya or Zambia, or how Zambia has been replicating the same education from Australia to Zambia, right? Is there anything that you'd like to say on that?
Oh, yes. From the perspective of our governments, we would like to see that we reduce the barrier, between immigrants. Whether it's immigrants that are coming from Australia into Zambia or from Zambia into Australia. And to encourage that, we would like to have Australian authorities, Australian professional associations, or Australian universities recognize, for example, that Zambia is an English-speaking country. It's a former British protectorate, which is just one of the fancy words to say colony, but it's a former British.
That's the first time I've heard that.
It's a former British protectorate, and so it has a very similar colonial history as Australia. Mm-hmm. And in that sense, then Zambia has also got a very similar governing system. The Westminster, a little bit of a hybrid between Westminster and the Washington system, an executive president as well as a Westminster-style parliament. Our judiciary is common law, and so very similar to Australian system. And so there are so many similarities between Zambia and Australia. And so we would like to encourage Australian citizens and those that are able to create policy to recognize that we've got African countries that are English speaking from grade 1 up to university, and so it should be easier for these citizens when they come into Australia. It must be easy for them to enroll in Australian
and replicate
schools,
their profession as well.
And replicate their professions. Yeah. But of course, as a diplomat, I have limit in how much I can
push on those kind of
debate those issues. But except to recognize that indeed, this is something that is very important to Africa, and it's beneficial not only to Africans here, but also beneficial to Australia itself.
Yeah, and that's an ongoing issue, isn't it? Not only for Africa, but for countries like Nepal and India, because the education there is as good as in Australia. Anyways, I'm very passionate about this, so you can let me speak about this, and I'll speak about it for years and years. Anyhow.
Yes, it's a very interesting topic indeed, and I feel like a lot of countries sort of confronting the same issue. It's not just one that's felt by Zambia. We're nearly out of time, but before we go, we still have 8 minutes, but I just sort of wanted to throw back to you, Your Excellency, and if there's anything you'd like to share. I mean, we've learned so much this episode about Zambia. Is there anything you want to sort of leave our listeners with?
Now, I do understand that you are changing your program from Hello Canberra to something else. And so I'd like to congratulate you for that transition. So when you transition, please play some Zambian music, some Zambian Canberra.
Sure.
We've got very, very good music, particularly done by PK Chala, or done by Green Labels and Amayenge. And so there is just so much diversity out of Zambian music. And there is now a new brand of Zambian music at the moment that is styled as Africa fusion and all these types of music. And so what we are trying to encourage is for Australians to listen to Zambian music, to show up at Zambian musician shows such as Mr. Yo Maps or Mampi and Chile One and several other Zambian artists that frequent Australia for that. And so there is a lot of cultural exchange that we can do in that way. The other thing about Zambia is soccer. Zambia is one of the big soccer nations in Africa, at least out of the 54 countries. And in fact, during the FIFA Women's World Cup, Zambia was represented. The women team was based out of Hamilton in New Zealand.
Oh, that's great.
And we did very well. We lost 2 of our games in the group stages, but at least we won the last one against Costa Rica. And so this is just to pay a great tribute to a footballing nation. And we would like to see more collaboration, of course, between Australia and Zambia in that way. Other than that, this is just to wish this radio station all the best and yourselves as you transition to a new program, and the fact that there is more conversations to be had. And so on behalf of my colleagues, 16 of us, we are very, very grateful for this opportunity to have this conversation about Australia and about Africa.
Thank you. We still have some time, and I had one question, for you.
Yeah.
The question was, when you have a tenure of 3 years or 5 years, as we mentioned, right?
Yeah.
Do you have a message for a younger generation of diplomats from Zambia or from Africa that's coming into Australia? Any sort of message that you would like to give them if they're listening to this, or they would listen to this? I'm getting messages from different countries. I just got a message from Cape Town. Someone from Cape Town just commented watching from Cape Town, and he's also said, well articulated, Dr. Munshia. So there are people watching, right?
Right.
Watching you from Zambia, Your Excellency. So we've got Henry as well watching us from Zambia as well. So what I mean is there are a lot of people that's watching, and they'll watch later on as well. What's the message?
The message is diplomacy is a very fulfilling career, and it's very diverse. There is no one way of actually becoming one, at least at ambassador level. For those that are within the diplomatic service, it's basically dedication to duty, dedication to your country, dedication to the wider family of nations, and the promotion of world peace. Right now, we face a very challenging time around the world, and diplomats have a role to play in fostering peace. But how do we foster this peace? By being much more understanding of another, hearing the other side of the story, not being too quick to speak or too quick to fight, but rather that we develop strategic patience to listen to one another. And nations cannot listen to one another if their citizens do not listen to one another. And so perhaps that is my advice to all the upcoming diplomats, to all the citizens of the world. Let us listen to one another. Let us be patient with one another. Let us understand the viewpoints of others before we give out our own. And humans have a tendency to love each other very deeply, but also sometimes they hurt each other very deeply. And so for those that are hurt, it's to forgive and to realize that we can always find a way to listen to each other and foster peace. We have various agencies right now that are looking at peace, be it the United Nations in Europe and in Geneva, be it the International Court of Justice that is trying to bring peace from the justice perspective, be it the peacekeeping efforts that are being done, be it by Zambia in Mozambique or in the Central African Republic. It is a commitment to world understanding, a commitment to loving one another, and a commitment to humanity. That's very important.
Your Excellency, your words of wisdom really is inspirational. I mean, no wonder you are an ambassador to a country. It's just inspiring, and the way you speak, it's really articulate. There's something to learn from this conversation, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure. And thank you for the honour of coming back to CMS and being on Hello Canberra's episode this week. Thank you so much. We really appreciate all the information and all the insights you've shared with us today.
Thank you, Kim.
I
Thank you, HP.
hope you enjoyed the show.
Oh, yes, definitely.
Yeah.
I did. And I'll come back again.
Oh, good. We look forward to it. Hopefully we have, maybe we'll go to Africa by then.
Yeah, or do a show in your embassy as well.
Oh,
You
yes,
come and do a show there.
I could do that.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, after the show, we're gonna exchange our details, and probably someday we'll come and do another show from your embassy.
And please come and visit Zambia.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Okay, so it's about time to leave today from Hello Canberra. It's me, HP,
And me, Kim. Thank you so much for joining us today.
and the last episode of Hello Canberra. I think so.
You'll find out next week.
All right, there's some surprise. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is Hello Canberra. If you're driving 5 to 6, CMS Radio 91.1, Himanshu Pradhan, HP, and Kim Strano.
Good night.
Good night, and see you soon.
Oh, did you intend?